Hello, today is Thursday, June 13th, 2019. I'm Joe Schmidt from TC2, and this is Staying Connected. Back in May of 2018, my colleagues Kevin DiLallo, Ben Fox, and I recorded a podcast where we debated the likelihood that the then newly announced proposed merger between Sprint and T-Mobile would actually happen. Well, it's been over a year since that podcast, and the deal is still pending. On today's podcast, I'm again joined by Kevin DiLallo, and we're also joined by our LB3 colleague, Sara Crifasi, and we're going to give you an update on the planned merger. So, Kevin, what's happened since this deal was announced early last year?
Joe, in a word, a lot. But not much of that has been good for Sprint or T-Mobile. First off, the staff at the Department of Justice's Antitrust Division are concerned about the loss of a fourth major wireless carrier following the merger, and so they've been reluctant and slow to move the merger forward. In contrast, the Republican FCC chairman, Ajit Pai, and one other Republican commissioner, as well as the Trump administration generally, see a stronger third wireless carrier as important to the United States' global competitiveness with China in 5G. The merged T-Mobile-Sprint combo would be the third largest U.S. wireless carrier after AT&T and Verizon Wireless. Most analysts expect the FCC to approve the merger when they vote on it later this month, but any approval will have strings attached. For one thing, Sprint controls a substantial amount of much-needed spectrum compared to Verizon Wireless and AT&T, and Sprint and T-Mobile also dominate the prepaid market. It's likely the FCC will condition its approval of the merger on divestiture of some of the company's spectrum and prepaid business. Besides those conditions, there's resistance at the Department of Justice, as Sara will explain, and a brand new lawsuit to block the merger was filed by attorneys general from 9 states and the District of Columbia just a few days ago. This has been a roller coaster ride since they filed for approval, and sadly the coaster seems destined to fly off the tracks.
So, Sara, if the FCC approves the deal, is it a done deal?
Not quite, Joe. Even if the merger is approved by the FCC, it still requires DOJ approval, which, as Kevin noted, is less likely. In addition, the press has recently reported that the DOJ's Antitrust Division has cautioned Sprint and T-Mobile that the currently proposed merger is unlikely to be approved as is. It seems that any approval will require the parties to agree to certain conditions, such as selling some of their spectrum and meeting certain 5G deployment obligations and deadlines. In particular, one major regulatory condition has been reported, a requirement that the merged company serve 97% of the country with its 5G service within 3 years of the merger's approval. We're skeptical as to whether the merged company will be able to deliver on that and other commitments, which Chairman Pai has indicated that if the merged entity fails to do so, it could face billions of dollars in forfeitures to the federal government. The DOJ is also concerned about the effects of the merger on consumers. Specifically, the agency is worried that replacing 2 smaller carriers known for their very aggressive pricing with a stronger single carrier would reduce competition and the options available to consumers. That being said, it's important to distinguish between the impacts of the merger on individual consumers as opposed to enterprise customers.
So as you guys know, we at TC2 and you at LB3 have been buying wireless services for a long time, and we do this all over the world. And I personally have never seen that play out, where having only 3 mobile carriers somehow makes the market less competitive. Frankly, you'd be very hard-pressed to find many countries where there are more than 3 strong facilities-based wireless providers.
No kidding, Joe. We can't hazard a guess as to the impact of the merger on individual customers, but we at LB3 do believe that the impact on enterprise customers will be positive. Most of our clients rely principally on Verizon Wireless and AT&T for the majority of their wireless service needs, and the result of that has been a de facto duopoly in which the 2 leading providers don't compete meaningfully on price or contract terms. Although most of our clients don't rely on Sprint or T-Mobile for more than a negligible portion of their wireless traffic, that could change with a stronger combined company. T-Mobile uses advanced technology that makes its network perform better than any of the other 3 wireless carriers, even better than Verizon Wireless. And Sprint is spectrum-rich, though it's struggling financially. If these 2 companies combine forces, they'll pose a formidable challenge to the AT&T Verizon Wireless duopoly, and that'll benefit enterprise customers. Absent the merger, it's very unlikely that another facilities-based wireless carrier will emerge. Most players in the market are MVNOs, which unfortunately is unlikely to change.
And besides the competitive benefits of having a strong third provider, enterprise customers should benefit indirectly from the merger as it's likely to accelerate U.S. 5G deployment. In addition, if your company does currently buy services from either Sprint or T-Mobile, consider whether you could use the time period immediately following the merger as an opportunity to negotiate a more favorable agreement, depending, of course, on the amount of traffic you're willing to offer the new entity. If you currently buy from both carriers, rather than proceed under an assignment provision with one of the existing agreements, consider proposing a new agreement altogether where your entity can select the best terms from each existing agreement for the new agreement with the merged entity.
Okay, thank you, Sara, and thank you, Kevin. We'll continue to watch the goings-on at the FCC and the Justice Department, and we will report back once this deal gets done, or doesn't get done. In the meantime, if you would like to discuss how the proposed merger of Sprint and T-Mobile might affect your company, or maybe you have some questions about what 5G could mean for the enterprise, or if you have other ICT lifecycle needs that you'd like to discuss, you can contact Sara, Kevin, me, or any of our LB3 and TC2 colleagues by giving us a call or sending us an email. You can also stay current by checking out our websites or follow us on LinkedIn.